There we go.
All right, let's get started. Profitable Agent Mastermind Monday, week of Thanksgiving. There was a great event that some of us went to last week, Bigger 2024. Let's just jump in and start takeaways from Bigger 2024. It was all about having a great 2024, no matter what the market's like, no matter what gets thrown your way. Derek, Audra, what were your big takeaways from that? I know you guys were there. Neki was there too. Some people were watching online. What were some of your takeaways? What came from that that's going to help you have a better 2024?
For me, it was definitely the 90-day, get into the 1 hour for 5 days a week, setting aside time to grow my business, whether that be lead calls, something I need to do differently as opposed to in the past, that's going to help my growth with the business and help consistently. It's not something that you can say, okay, I can't do it today. No, set aside an hour every single day, get it done, do it for the 90 days consistently, and just watch how your business changes. And that's one of the areas that I know personally I have been affected on. I don't have a problem getting on the phone and talking to anybody. I will talk to anyone. I love talking to people. My issue is getting interruptions and being able to make those calls. So by setting aside a time frame once a day, shut off all texts, everything. Everybody goes away for an hour and I just focus on making my calls. I won't run into this problem consistently because I will have set aside a focus that is just, consistent and build it into a habit and then just continue to grow that as time goes on.
Yeah, when you sit there and you listen to that and you hear 1 hour, it's pretty hard to come up with an excuse that you can't find 1 hour in a day to make the calls you want to make to move yourself forward. I mean, it's pretty hard to come up with an excuse to avoid that. And even if it's 2 half-hour sessions, if you just have that crazy a life that you can't sit down for 1 hour or can't find 1 hour of quiet time, there's got to be 2 half-hours. So I think that was definitely huge. What about any Neki, Derek? What was your takeaways?
We'll let Neki go first, and I'll jump in.
Neki, you have any?
I was about to say the same thing for you, Derek.
Lady first.
Actually, I like reevaluating scripts, reevaluating stuff, see what works, see what doesn't, and ask questions, be more compassionate, be more understanding instead of trying to sell. Stop being a salesperson. That was the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's not just making the time, it's actually what do you do with this hour? How do you actually have an impact?
Totally. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on that, I know we mentioned it before, but with the Phil Jones and just exactly what to say and getting curious about your consumers, I think now is a great time for everyone to practice it. The next 3 days in business tend to be slow. Everyone's already in that Thanksgiving Day mode. So it'd be a very, advantageous time to use those questions. If you missed the rocket fuel we had, was it last Monday or the Monday before? When we had Phil Jones on.
Yeah.
Last Monday.
Yep.
So go back and listen to that call. If you need the link to it, text either Tracy or I will get you the link to the call. But just get curious about your people, and ask them, to keep their ears open at the Thanksgiving Day table for anyone that may need help.
Yeah.
The
other thing to keep in mind too is just that your call doesn't have to be about getting to the sale. Oftentimes we're thinking like we got to call people to sell real estate. Just call people and offer. Maybe you're going to be of help to them in some way today. Maybe it has nothing to do with real estate. Maybe it's just bringing a smile to their face when they're just feeling lonely. I mean, I don't care what it is. You can have a positive impact on people's day through one phone call. If you're just thinking from a perspective, I'm just going to call people and see if I can have a positive impact on their day. you don't have to think about the end sale.
Mhm.
You know, you want it. You
Right.
want a sale at in the end of the day, but it doesn't have to be about that when we're making these calls. It's like, how can I help them today?
Mhm.
Somebody needs help. I can't offer people help if they're not gonna necessarily just, you can't wait for people to call you that need help. Nobody's ever gonna call you. Nobody's ever gonna, you know, I just think it's rare. If you do get a call from somebody, treat that as like you won the lottery today. You know, somebody calls you to do something in real estate or has a real estate question, you just won the lottery today. Other than that, if you're not making the outbound calls to help people, you're not going to survive or succeed. You just have to be willing to call and offer help to people. You do.
Yeah, I mean, so if you were in the room for Bigger 2024, I mean, just the first 35, 40 minutes with John Cheplik was, to me, was, you know, the amount of nuggets that he gave. I'll go over a couple right here on my notes. But email, it's one thing that I have ignored and pushed to the side for years. And when I take a step back, I ask myself, why did I do that? You know, and it reminded me of, you know, there's one activity I love to train agents on, which is door knocking. And so many agents, when I say, hey, let's go door knocking, they always put themselves in the consumer shoes and they say, well, I wouldn't want anyone knocking on my door. I'd slam it shut. I did the same thing with email, because when I look at my phone, I have thousands of emails that are unopened, and a lot of them is spam stuff. But when we're in the business of real estate, and like Tracy and I, we're testing out different things. We get solicited by so many people via email. But when I look at my wife's email, or I look at my friends and colleagues that are not in the sales business, they don't have any unopened emails on their phone.
No.
So I put myself in how I conceive email versus how the public would receive it. So a person that John said for us to follow, and I'm going to be on her page and following everything and learning, was Eva Lynn. Okay.
Yeah.
It was one person he said to follow.
Eva
So, so I plan on going through her page and watching what she does and what her cadence is. But what John said was market snapshot, highlight a local business, thought leader, and then a community event. And every single week, 4 items. Okay. And there's the first question some of my agents ask me after that call is, how do I get emails? There's millions of ways to get a database of emails to work with, specific to your town. Okay. I use a system called PropStream. I know there's Remind has it. Some of your title companies can have that as well. So you can ask the title company to get you some emails. But I know on PropStream I can get the emails that I want, and then the biggest thing he mentioned was message to market match. That's something that I used to pay a lot of attention to. But the other big piece is when if you're going to go down this road, this is one item that I'm definitely going to go down. But if you're going to go down this road, you have to use the right CRM to send your emails, so you know what email hook is getting opened, making sure it's getting delivered. And the subject line, he said, should be curiosity or urgency with a bold statement or question. Those are just that first section of it. Okay. If you wanted to live stream this to your own home, it was $97. Okay. People go see John and spend a lot more money for what he just gave to us. So I know that Amy said that she's going to give us the whole recording. Everyone that was at the event, I will send you the recording so you can go back and watch as well. But Tracy,
I'm sharing a screen of this girl. All she does is the same 4 every week. the market update,
Mhm.
the sharing a local business, thought leader, and what was the other one?
Community event.
Community event. She repeats it over and over again. She delivers it on social media, and she delivers them via email. And she's built a huge business from this. Simple, straightforward, same thing every week. Repeatable, repeatable, repeatable. You know, when you start following a lot of these super successful people, their business is rather boring. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's just finding something that works and repeating it over and over and over again.
Hmm.
So
You know, and
something to think
getting
about.
back to what Audra said about setting aside that hour of time. The way that you do this and set a habit doing this is take your old school day planner. Okay. I'm huge on technology. I still use a paper day planner because if I don't, I double book myself constantly. Okay. So if you write in your hour, that's an appointment with yourself. There's nothing that should take priority over that. Okay. So you put it in, it should be the same days and time every single week where that's your hour for you. Okay. I do 2 hours a day on that. 1 hour, Tracy, I do is all audible. So I'm listening to something, whether it's, Phil Jones, whether it's, different business coaching that I'm looking to listen to, different books that speakers mention. If you ask me to sit down and read it for an hour, I'll fall asleep. But if I have it in my ears, I can listen, I can take notes. And again, it's just putting positive information in your brain. So that was our first speaker, was John Cheplick. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah, I'm always listening to audiobooks on the road because I drive a lot. My kids are all over the place. I don't want that to be unproductive time, so I use it for calls. And like I suggested to Audra, just write down on a piece of paper your 10 power calls today, the 10 most powerful calls you can make to try to keep your business moving forward. Write them on a piece of paper. That way, no matter where you're going or doing, you can't tell me you can't have a headset in and be making a few phone calls while you're driving around to win the day. Focusing on winning the day is important because, if you approach every day like I'm going to win today, I'm going to make something happen today, you tend to most days win. If you're winning most days, then you're going to be successful.
So Tracy, that's a good segue.
Yeah,
that's a good into the second speaker was Justin. How do you pronounce his last name? Was it Sua?
Sua.
Or Sue? Sua. Okay. That was his big thing, was celebrate your small victories and win the day. Okay. So often in real estate, we get caught up with the end result and we want to see results immediately. Okay. Ryan White said it further in the day, but you want to celebrate the process and accomplishing each and every piece of your process, not measuring the results every single day. Okay. It's going to be hard to see the fruits of your labor on a daily basis. But if you do the right actions on a daily basis, when you look back at your quarter or your year, you'll see the results. So that was Tracy, you stole my thunder. That was from the second speaker. What I really took out of that was, focus and execute your actions on a daily basis. And instead of replaying the bad stuff that happens, replay the good things and celebrate the wins.
Totally. Totally.
We're in a tough business of sales. And I thought it was interesting how Justin related sports to business. Okay. He was a baseball player, and if a baseball player hits 300, he's doing pretty good. And we get mad if we make 10 calls and we only get 4 or 5 people to answer. that's a pretty good batting average. Okay. So it's interesting to see how people, look at different events and put them to our business. So celebrate the small things. And the other thing he also said was, who are you surrounding yourself with? Yeah, that's a big one. I heard a lot of speakers talk about it.
And muting people that get into your
Yes.
brain. If you don't want
Yes.
to unfriend them and block them, just mute them. You can mute people on social media. Mute people from your life that are just not serving your days well.
I didn't know how to do that. After he said it, I went through and found it. Because
Yeah.
there's just some people, all they do is talk about the negative stuff.
I muted my aunt. You can mute family members too. It's okay.
Yes.
Hey, Jeff, don't worry. I know you're on the call. We're not going to mute you. We need you.
Yeah.
Anyone else take anything away from the second speaker, Justin?
How about Gio?
What about
Talk about Gio.
Yeah, what about third guy, Gio? Gio was pretty cool. What about Gio?
I have my character. He's called T3.
Okay.
Yeah. And what's most important about it isn't who Tracy the Titan is, the future version of me. But what matters is I'm trying to actively ask myself, is what I'm doing something T3 would be proud of? Or would he say you're being a whiner? So asking myself, like, am I getting the kind of days out of my days that the future version of me would be proud of and expect? So it's pretty weird when you start asking yourself those things. Like, was today a productive day in T3's perspective? It sounds a little crazy to think of yourself. And for those of you that weren't on that, basically ask us and suggested to us that the person we want to be in 5 years from now, what does that person look like? What do they act like? How do they operate on a day-to-day basis? And ask yourself, is that person that I'm moving towards becoming, is that how I'm operating today, or am I not operating on that? Because if you operate it like that long enough, the future version of you is going to come. But if you keep acting the same way every day, you'll never get to that future version of yourself that you want to be. So it was pretty interesting. And he asked us to basically come up with a character that's our character. Like, this is who you're gonna be, and you're gonna treat them like they're a superhero and give them a definition of who they are. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I thought that if you took the message that Justin gave, you took the message that Gio gave, a lot of it played in well to each other. And I don't know if Amy knew that was going to happen, or it just happened organically, because he was talking about, setting your 1 year goal, setting your 5 year goal, and setting your outrageous 10-year goal. And it kind of went back to what Justin was saying as well, which was win the day, focus on what matters, on the process, but you can't control the result. So if you're doing the right things over and over and over again, you're going to hit your goals. Okay. So I thought that was powerful. And I liked how he pitched it was, what would your future version of yourself do in this situation? So he seems like an amazing person to follow. I can't wait to see what he does. But I thought he was he mentioned, your Odyssey and your destiny was kind of how he set his goals, which was pretty cool.
Right.
Yep.
I loved it. And he said, make ridiculous goals for yourself. Like, obviously set the usual 1 year goals, but make some ridiculous 5 year goals. You'd be surprised at how far you can go in 5 years. So set some of those ridiculous goals for yourself that you think are ridiculous now. He said, I did that, and some of those came true within a much shorter period than 5 years. So, it's okay to have crazy big goals. If you fall short, you still win. So You have to match your actions with your goals. Obviously, you can't just say, I want to make $1 million a year in real estate and not not work on acting like the person that would be there. You know, they're that future version of you is going to be much different than the first future vision of you, unless you're just slowly want to grow and just going to be, you know, on pace with our economy, more or less. You know, it's like, what do they say? Like inflation supposed to be what, 2 to 3% per year. I mean, if you only grow 2 to 3% per year, you're never going to get ahead. You're going to be constantly just on par with the economy, with the rest of the world. So I don't know about you guys, but it's not, I don't want to get political or anything, but it's pretty tough to be middle class, you know, average, making even 6 figures. Doesn't seem like a lot anymore. So, you know, whatever you want is out there, and it's still out there even in this market. Just have to operate differently. So anything else? What else you guys got that you either heard during the event or you just know that you need to work on in to make 2024 your best year yet? Questions you have, concerns you have?
Well, I mean, I liked the fact that, you know, in addition to the Odyssey and the Destiny part of it, that they said, if life is a story, how do you make yours a bestseller?
Ah, I liked that.
So like, you know, you map it out for yourself. What is your story, your bestseller?
It's similar to an activity from last year's event that I got out of it, which was write your story for 1 year from today. What is that story going to read? The story of what your year was like. You know, I'm here November 24th, 2024, celebrating an amazing last 12 months. I closed a certain number of sales, and because of this, I'm able to do this, something that you're really passionate about. For some people, it may be, and I'm celebrating by taking my kids to Disney World the day after Thanksgiving. Whatever it is, like write a story that you're going to read to yourself. I had an agent I was coaching do this, and a lot of the things that she had in that letter have come true in the last year. She's having a breakout year as a new agent, basically a 2-year agent. Crystal, who's not on the call right now, but breakout year, like an incredible year for someone that's second year in the business. And she wrote that story. She's like, a lot of it came true. Georgia,
Exactly.
you're muted. See you trying to talk, George. George, were you trying to share something, or are you talking to someone else? Okay. All right. All right. What else you guys got?
The last section was kind of like a come to reality time with Ryan White's on the ideal conversion metrics, and the amount of contacts a day and calls you have to make to reach your goals. So that was definitely a interesting chart and breakdown. But obviously what I took out of that piece was, you know, real estate's a contact sport, and you have to find a way to have more conversations with people. So I kind of liked how they broke it down either to, you know, a chair or a stool. So we can open it up on this end of things. Right now, the people on the call, how are you having more conversations? What are your lead sources?
One of mine, I recently joined a women's group just to get out there and mingle with more people and possibly find some potential, you know, clients that way, just by getting out, doing more community services with them.
Love it. Love it. Anything you can get to get community with people is huge. People love to do business with people that like the same things as them. Affinity connections are huge, you know, whatever it may be. We all have passions. Most of them probably different. There's groups out there. If there are no groups, maybe you start a group. Community groups are a big one that I've heard is great. Get active in community Facebook groups, or start your own on Facebook. I think those are great opportunities. What else you guys have? What else are you using for lead sources? Derek, you have any others?
I got plenty. I
Okay,
want to see who else wants to turn on their mic and engage with us this morning.
right.
Anybody? Or you want me to spitfire a few for you?
I'm just talking to the people that I work with and the people that are in like the sports arena that my kids are in right now. And I've just been really kind of caught up in life. So just people in the circle, you know, people I run into, I share the ideas with, starting to kind of come back into reality these days. So I'd like to join a group. I like what Audrey said too. Maybe a yoga class. I'm going to join the gym again and start talking to more people actively. Maybe take a pottery class or something. It's a good idea.
You know what I like to spin it is being curious with more people. I think as real estate agents, we get into the tendency of saying we need to talk to more people. We need to be more curious with more people. Curious about their life, curious about what they have going on. Because as soon as I even from my perspective, like I start thinking like talk to people, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be throwing up real estate on everyone. And I don't want to throw up real estate on everyone. You know, you want to be curious about them. You know, I'm going to get involved in these groups and become curious about the people in those groups. That's what do they do for a living? How can you maybe help them with their business? You know, curiosity is
that's the biggest that's the biggest opener you just hit on. Ask them how you can help them. It's only natural after they say how you can help them in their business. They always ask, how can I help you?
Yeah. Test it out in a networking group or something. If you ask people what they do, they will absolutely ask you 100%. If they don't, then they're probably not someone you want to work with.
Right.
So
Pay attention to even TV shows and even character development on like movies and TV shows, like how people interact with each other and how like we make that conversation happen and keep people engaged in that conversation to keep it going. And what I've noticed in my real life experience and in like watching even, you know, people's writing is curious, like you said, about what they have to say and keep the focus on them. Like, oh, ask more questions about what they're talking about, listening to what they're having to say, being curious about their interests. And then eventually, yeah, they might ask you and then it comes up, but then still bring it back to them because they want to talk about themselves. And like you said, the more you know about them, the more you can help them.
The other thing I just wanted to add in is we have opportunities present themselves every day in just our existence in life in general, because I broke a tooth recently, had to go to the dentist. And next thing I know, she's asking me for my business card because she's going to want my assistance. So, I mean, you don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. You just got to be personable with whoever you come across. But I mean, I didn't go in there thinking, okay, let's discuss real estate. I'm in there because I have a broken tooth. I don't even know if I'm drooling at this point, you know? And it's like, she wants to talk about real estate. I'm like, okay. You know, it can happen like that. And so you just got to kind of keep your antenna up. Everybody is a potential client around you all day, everywhere you go. So you know, it's not so much having to purchase leads or things like that. If you just get outside and do some chores, do some errands, go out there, you're going to bump into people. People are Christmas shopping right now. You know, some people are going to be wanting to move, or some people, you know, maybe they have a lease ending and they're tired of renting. You know, it's out there. You just have to bump into them, bump into them and be friendly, and then hear and listen to them.
Sure. Oh my God, it's ideal.
Yeah.
For having that conversation. Seriously.
Exactly.
How many
Yep.
people are involved in any professional networking groups on this call?
Yeah.
B&I's
Like,
local groups.
I am involved in some of those groups, but I haven't been very active on it. So I think what happens is that I need to be more active. Doing what, showing what you have, like all the updates and things about the events also. I know that you already, you already talked about that. So if we are active, then we would start having all those things. And also the schools too, like kids' school. I think I would need to be more like proactive. Also, get to know people better, and also, want to see how I can help them too.
So,
I think those would change things.
so now so I'm going to bring up a couple different things you guys can use to your advantage in our line of work. Okay. So there's so many different groups you can join. All right. There's, your B&I groups, which are business networking groups. Those are a lot of time commitment on a weekly basis. You have your chamber groups, you have your exchange clubs. The biggest thing is not just joining the group, it's going to the events. Okay. Meeting other business professionals and having a brief conversation at those events. Okay. So I went to a networking event the other day. All right. And in my hand, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19 business professionals that I met. Okay.
So
At that event.
you have 19 and 19 other people have your card, right?
Yep, they have my card. However, at these events, you're going to meet people for 5 and 10 minutes. Oh, what do you do? Or do you have a card? I just want their card. Okay. They're not going to remember me from a hole in the wall at that event.
No.
Okay. If you're at an event with 50, 60 other professionals, now, if you really make an impact, they may. Okay. But my whole objective at these events is to meet as many people as I can and grab their business card. Okay. Why do you think I do that?
They go in your database.
Okay. They go to my
Develop
database.
network.
Yeah, but what I do is I send them each an email after the fact. Okay. And I say, hey, Shayla, it was great to meet you at so-and-so event. I'd love to grab a cup of coffee with you and learn more about your business and how I can help. Okay. So I'm booking coffee appointments with each one of these people.
Mhm.
I'm not booking lunches. I'm not booking dinners. Those are expensive. And when people chew, they can't talk. Okay. So
It's awkward
coffee-
to decide when you're going to eat.
yes, coffee works perfectly. Okay. And usually coffee's in the morning. Okay. So most of your real estate clients never bother you in the morning. Okay. It's everything's in the afternoon and evenings.
Mhm.
So now what am I doing? What's my objective on these? I'm assuming, everyone on this call wants to grow their business, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm finding out about their business and how I can help. You as a real estate agent, okay, I want you to stop thinking yourself as an agent or a salesperson and start viewing yourself as an advisor. Okay. Trusted advisor that your clients can count on. So each one of these people has a different business and a different focus. They all become a resource to all my past clients and all the people that are in my network. So if someone needs assistance in estate sales, in a bankruptcy, in a divorce, whatever it may be, you may have someone now in your Rolodex that you can advise and refer them to. Okay. And when I'm at these meetings, obviously they're going to ask how can they help us? And the standard answer is obviously, anyone looking to to sell a home, buy a home. That's what I'm here for. But the other big thing I ask for, okay, which you may not even think of asking for in this meeting, is I want an introduction into any unhappy realtors that you may know. So have you ever asked a business professional that question?
Mhm.
Probably not. Probably because it's not on your list of things to do. But who put yourself in their shoes? Who do you vent to in the industry or in the business that, you know, if something goes wrong in the business, you're venting to your friends, you're venting to people you know. Okay. So unhappy people, they need a vent to somebody. You know, so I asked them, I want introductions. Anyone that's struggling in the business or may need help. Okay, we have a huge network of people that can help them in this business. And you can all add that one leg of your stool that many of you probably didn't have on there, which is attraction. Okay, so it's a way to start those conversations.
Totally. Love it.
Take a look in your marketplaces, any chamber events. You know, the chamber events are great. There's so many business professionals there from every type of profession.
100%.
What other resources do you guys have? Because I just took about 10 minutes on that one. So we have the obvious ones. Door knocking, picking up the phones. What else?
About like local events, even in your town or in the area, you know, flea markets, festivals, you know, lots of craft fairs going on, just talking to people out in the community like that.
Totally.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, think that I've seen some super successful agents that they work hard on being the mayor or mayoress of the town. You know, the unofficial promoter of the town. Anything and everything that's going on. You know, you could grow your own community group with that, or your own business page, or whatever it is. Like, if you truly love your community, we're selling houses, but we're also selling communities.
We're selling lifestyle.
We all lifestyle, community. You know, you don't just buy a home, you buy a community. You know, and I think a lot of times people don't know how to connect with that new community. So, you know, that might be an opportunity for you. Great. I mean, handwritten notes is another one. Expired, or for sale by owner, a house that looks like it's probably going to be sold at some point. There's a dumpster in the yard. There's contractors out in the yard. I don't care what it is. Send them a handwritten note.
Tracy, we could probably do a
Anybody
session.
see The Watchers on Netflix?
What is it?
Called The
The
Watchers on
Watchers?
Netflix.
I have.
Take a step out of that book. Like, write handwritten notes to the houses you'd just love to get a listing for. Hey, every time I drive by your house, I just think, oh my God, this is the most amazing home in town. If you ever think about selling, keep me in mind. It would be an absolute career honor for me to be able to list that house if you ever decide to sell. You know, you could have your list of houses in town you just want to get the listing on, you know, whatever it is. Like, handwritten notes work well. Expired listings, handwritten notes work extremely well. Go back in MLS and search expireds for the last 10 years. Check the property history, make sure they never came back on the market. But go in, look at the listings, so do a search time frame back 10 years. It's going to be a large list in the towns you want, and then look at each one, look at the property history. If it didn't come back on the market, is sold. Sometimes you'll see it came back on the market, expired again, never sold again. If they haven't, mail them. You know, most people don't put their house on the market, have it expire or cancel, and say, forget it, we're never moving. They table it for a while. I mean, some people are probably, there will be a percentage that decide to stay and renovate, but if you're not trying to make your house into what you wanted, then you're probably selling again at some point.
So Tracy, how many people on the call work with new construction or investors?
Me, I.
Would people on the call want to know how to work with investors and builders?
Actually, I'm on the side of the buyer, so but I'm still looking to work with a builder.
So the easiest way to get connection with builders is to find buildable lots. Okay, it's as easy as pulling up a Google map. Tracy, we'll end on this. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me. There you go.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull this up and I'll show you guys what I mean. So in your towns, one thing that you want to kind of look at, and one easy way to get introductions to builders is to have buildable lots. So I'm going to share this real quick. And you'll see my screen here. So this is just a street in Haverhill, okay? And Google Maps does a great job for us because you'll see there's 2 streets. You have Goodale Street, you got Dwight Street. All right, what do you notice here? If I zoom into the very beginning of Goodale Street and Dwight Street. See these 2 houses here?
Mhm.
You see any houses behind them?
Mm-mm.
But there's other houses behind these, right?
Yep.
These are buildable lots. So when people bought these lots way back when, they bought a double lot straight through the other street. So right now, more than ever in the market that we're in, you got to figure out, and it's easy to do, just go back in your MLS and see what lot sold for. Okay, I know in Haverhill, if I go down here a little bit for you, the corner of Mill Street and Bourbon Street, I sold this lot to an investor about a year ago. Okay. And right now there's a brand, what you don't see on the map, there's a little bit, it's an older picture. There's a new house here. There's also a brand new house being built here. This owner was sitting on a lot, a little bit over an acre in Haverhill. So I sold it to my investor.
I gotta go. Sorry, guys. Thank you.
No worries.
That's okay. I sold it to my investor, and that investor got 2 buildable lots plus the house to sell out of it. Okay. So it's an easy way to get introduction with builders because every builder has connections. But the way you break in is give them something they need, which is land. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind as you're going through your lead sources and where you're going to get new business next year. The nice part about working with builders is you sell them the lot commission is usually not all that much. Okay, it's $200,000 to $300,000 for a lot, depending on where you are, maybe a little bit less. But the agreement you have with the builder is if you bring them a lot that's not available on the market, you get the house to sell when it's ready. Okay, so I got a couple of those deals going on now, and a couple of the agents that we've trained in the office have a couple of those going on now. So it's a nice way to build in additional sales in your year, and to have those relationships. There you
I
go.
also, if you want to, it's like $9.99 a year. I use Land Glide, LAND
What's it called?
Glide, Land Glide. So I can zoom in on any parcel and see who the owner, get the owner's information. I can click on a layer. I can see the topo, so I can see what the topographic lines look like, how steep or level the lot is. I can actually measure distances, so I can figure out like a distance from point A to point B on frontage. But you can literally, you could use this to, look up all the information, even the owner's names, their owner's address. And so you could go around and just scour for opportunities in a town. Say, oh, that looks like a bigger parcel. Let me look it up, and it'll follow your if you have your locational beacon on, it'll show you where you are. So if you're driving along and you kind of see something that looks like an opportunity, you can pull over and pull it up on here and find out who the owner's information is. So you don't have to go
Nice.
back to your MLS and try to figure out, well, what address was that? You know, because a lot of them won't have addresses. And if you're searching public records, it might be hard. That's a great app, Landified.
What's the cost there, Tracy?
I think it's like $9.99 for the year for the basic plan, which is not bad at all.
Okay.
And I use it to walk. I used to use HomeSnap, but for walking lots, but they're great for showings too. I'll pull it open. It'll show me where I am on the lot, and I'll walk it, and the blue dot will say, and I usually tell them, look, it's within a couple feet, probably either one, like depending on how good the satellite is, but it's close. And you can also see on the aerial version, you can see landmarks, so that if you see like a fence or a stone wall and it shows up on the GPS, then you know you're pretty close. So
I mean, we could do a whole class on that, but the other big piece of that is going down to your building department, talking to the building department, find out what the zoning laws are. We mentioned different things you could go to. Do any of you go to your zoning meetings in the town that you focus on? If you're going to take this strategy, start going to those meetings. They're open to the public.
Yeah.
You'll learn what they're passing, what they're giving variances for, what they're allowing. And then the second piece of that is,
yeah, and a lot more of the buildable opportunities moving into the future are going to require some level of variance or subdivision. So, you know, the land that's just easily buildable that doesn't show up in the zoning department is becoming less and less. So
it's just another strategy if you want to go down that road.
Yeah.
All right. Any other takeaways before we end today's call?
No. Awesome,
The
guys.
last one I'll give Tracy real quick.
Yeah.
Is move up buyers. Okay, so a lot of times you can find move up buyers in condo complexes. They're outgrowing their space in the condo.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of, if you're doing mailings or marketing, instead of just, you know, sending a random mailer, do you want to sell your condo? You know, are you outgrowing your condo? Do you need more space? Do you need a backyard? Ask questions in the marketing pieces. Get them thinking. Move up buyers are nice because, again, you get a property to sell and they're going to buy one too.
Totally.
Okay.
And if you think about
All right, well,
pain, who has enough pain to want to sell and buy in this market? Somebody that lives in a small condo, 900 square foot, 1,000 square foot condo that's got kids at this point. They're, you know, or a single person that becomes married or, you know, a significant relationship and they move in together. You know, there's got to be there's probably pain.
so I'll end on one quick story. I never even thought of this, but it was at my last meeting. And she's going to do a call for us in the future. But it's on helping renters purchase homes. And she went to give a closing gift at the final walkthrough for the buyer that was buying a townhouse. And her kids were so excited. They were jumping up and down in the condo. And the loan officer that was on the deal was like, you know, why are your kids so excited? And she's like, because the apartment we lived in for the past 3 years, we couldn't make any noise. We had neighbors on both sides of us. And every time they were too loud, they got a noise complaint. And then they had to move. Okay. So Tracy, you have kids, I have kids.
Yeah.
You ever try to keep your kids quiet sometimes? It just doesn't happen. George,
Yeah.
you got kids. So like the stress that lady must have been under. Every time she got a noise complaint, she got too many, she get an eviction notice. You know, so you know, she got what she wanted, which was her own home. She didn't have to worry about her kids making a little bit of noise.
That's
So
exactly.
sometimes you have to
I just had a closing with that too. That they were living in a rental in Worcester because they sold their house a few years ago. We're trying to figure out what their next move was going to be, and somebody new moved in down below them, and their 5 and 7 year old are total like crazy amounts of energy. And
Mhm.
literally they're just like, we have to get out of here. There is no ands or buts about it. Someone will die if we do not get out of here.
All right, well, thank you everyone for being on the call. Tracy, thanks for doing this. Hope
Thanks.
everyone has a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving all.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
with your
Happy
family and
Thanksgiving.
friends.
We will, there's no
Okay,
call
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
next week.
Yeah, Monday the 27th, we'll be back on.
Yep.
All right.
All right, later.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Jeff